Hello and welcome back to our Chronological Bible in your reading plan. Today is day 196 and we are in 2 Chronicles chapter 28 and 2 Kings 16 and 17. 2 Chronicles 28 to start us off. Ahaz was 20 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. And he did not do what was right in the eyes of Yahweh, as his father David had done. And he walked in the ways of the sovereigns of Israel, and made molded images for the Baals. And he himself burned incense in the valley of Ben Hinnom, and burned his children in the fire, according to the abominations of the Gentiles, whom Yahweh dispossessed from before the children of Israel, and slaughtered and burned incense on the high places, and on the hills, and under every green tree. Therefore Yahweh his Elohim gave him into the hand of the sovereign of Aram, and they smote him, and took many of them away as captives, and brought them to Damascus. And he was also given into the hand of the sovereign of Israel, who smote him with a great smiting. And Pekah, son of Remaliahu, slew 120,000 in Yehudah in one day, all brave men, because they had forsaken Yahweh Elohim of their fathers. And Zikri, a mighty man of Ephraim, slew Maaseyahu, son of the sovereign, and Azrikam, the officer over the house, and Elkanah, who was second to the sovereign. And the children of Israel took captive from their brothers 200,000 women, sons and daughters. And they also seized from them much spoil, and they brought the spoil to Shomron. But a Nabi, which is a prophet of Yahuwah, was there, whose name was Oded. And he went out before the army that came to Shomron, and said to them, See, because Yahuwah Elohim of your fathers was displeased with Yehudah, he has given them into your hand, and you have slain them in a rage that reaches up to the Shamayim, which is up to the heavens. And now you are planning to make the children of Yehudah and Jerusalem your male and female slaves, but are you not also guilty before Yahuwah your Elohim? Now therefore listen to me, and return the captives whom you have taken captive from your brothers, for the heat of the wrath of Yahuwah is upon you. And some of the heads of the children of Ephraim, Azaryahu, son of Yehohanan, Barakyahu, son of Meshillemoth, and Yehizkiyahu, son of Shallum, and Amasa, son of Hadlai, stood up against those who came from the army, and said to them, Do not bring the captives here to bring on us guilt before Yahuwah. Are you planning to add to our sins and to our guilt? For our guilt is great, and burning is the wrath on Israel. And the armed men left the captives and the spoil before the leaders and all the assembly. And the men who were designated by name rose up and took the captives. And from the spoil they clothed all the naked among them, and dressed them, and gave them sandals, and gave them food and drink. And anointed them, and let all the weak ones ride on donkeys, and brought them to their brothers at Jericho, the city of palm trees, then returned to Shomron. At that time sovereign Ahaz sent to the sovereigns of Ashur to help him, for the Edomites had come again, and smote Yehudah, and took away captives. And the Pelethites invaded the cities of the low country in the south of Yehudah, and captured Bethshemesh, and Ayalon, and Gederoth, and Soko with its villages, and Timnah with its villages, and Gimzo with its villages, and dwelt there. For Yahuwah had brought Yehudah low because of Ahaz, sovereign of Israel, for he brought about a lack of restraint in Yehudah, and trespassed against Yahuwah. And Tiglath-Pileser, the sovereign of Ashur, came against him, and distressed him, and did not help him. Though Ahaz had taken some of the treasures from the house of Yahuwah, from the house of the sovereign, and from the leaders, and he gave it to the sovereign of Ashur, but he did not help him. And in the time of his distress, sovereign Ahaz trespassed even more against Yahuwah, this sovereign Ahaz, and he slaughtered to the mighty ones of Damascus, those smiting him, saying, Because the mighty ones of the sovereigns of Aram helped them, I offered to them, and they helped me. But they were to cause him and all Israel to stumble. And Ahaz gathered the utensils of the house of Elohim, and cut in pieces the utensils of the house of Elohim, and shut the doors of the house of Yahuwah, and made for himself altars in every corner of Jerusalem. And in every city, even the cities of Yehudah, he made high places to burn incense to other mighty ones, and provoked Yahuwah Elohim of his fathers. And the rest of his acts and all his ways from first to last, see, they are written in the book of the sovereigns of Yehudah and Yisrael. So Ahaz slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the city in Jerusalem, but they did not bring him into the tombs of the sovereigns of Yisrael. And Hizkiyahu, his son, reigned in his place. And now we're going to 2 Kings, chapters 16 and 17. 2 Kings 16. In the 17th year of Pekah, son of Remaliahu, Ahaz, son of Jotham, sovereign of Yehudah, began to reign. Ahaz was 20 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. And he did not do what was right in the eyes of Yahuwah his Elohim, as his father David had done. But he walked in the way of the sovereigns of Yisrael, and he also made his son pass through the fire, according to the abominations of the Gentiles, whom Yahuwah had dispossessed from before the children of Yisrael. And he slaughtered and burned incense on the high places, and on the hills, and under every green tree. Then Retzin, sovereign of Aram, and Pekah, son of Remaliahu, sovereign of Israel, came up to Jerusalem to battle. And they besieged Ahaz, but were unable to overcome him. At that time Retzin, sovereign of Aram, recovered Elath for Aram, and drove the men of Yehudah from Elath. And the Edomites went to Elath, and have dwelt there to this day. And Ahaz sent messengers to Tiglath-Pileser, sovereign of Ashur, saying, I am your servant and your son. Come up and save me from the hand of the sovereign of Aram, and from the hand of the sovereign of Yisrael, who are rising up against me. And Ahaz took the silver and gold that was found in the house of Yahuwah, and in the treasuries of the house of the sovereign, and sent it as a present to the sovereign of Ashur. And the sovereign of Ashur listened to him. And the sovereign of Ashur went up against Damasek, and captured it, and exiled it to Kir, and he killed Retzin. And sovereign Ahaz went to meet Tiglath-Pileser, sovereign of Ashur, at Damasek, and saw an altar that was at Damasek. And sovereign Ahaz went to Uriah the Kohen, which is the priest, a sketch of the altar and its pattern. Sovereign Ahaz sent to Uriah the Kohen a sketch of the altar and its pattern, according to all its workmanship. And Uriah the Kohen built an altar according to all that sovereign Ahaz had sent from Damasek. And Uriah the Kohen made it before sovereign Ahaz came from Damasek. And when the sovereign came from Damasek, the sovereign saw the altar, and the sovereign approached the altar and made offerings on it. And he burned his burnt offering and his grain offering, and he poured his drink offering and sprinkled the blood of his peace offerings on the altar. And the bronze altar which was before Yahuwah he brought from the front of the house, from between the new altar and the house of Yahuwah, and put it on the north side of the altar. And sovereign Ahaz commanded Uriah the Kohen, saying, On the great altar burn the morning burnt offering, and the evening grain offering, and the sovereign's burnt offering, and his grain offering, with the burnt offering of all the people of the land, and their grain offering, and their drink offerings. And sprinkle on it all the blood of the burnt offering, and all the blood of the slaughtering. And the bronze altar is for me to inquire by. And Uriah the Kohen did according to all that sovereign Ahaz commanded. And sovereign Ahaz cut off the side panels of the stands, and removed the basins from them. And he took down the sea from the bronze oxen that were under it, and put it on a pavement of stones. And the covered way which they had built in the house for the Shabbath, and the sovereign's outer entrance, he took from the house of Yahuwah, because of the sovereign of Ashur. And the rest of the acts of Ahaz which he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the sovereigns of Yehudah? So Ahaz slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David. And Hizkiyahu his son reigned in his place. Chapter 17. In the 12th year of Ahaz, sovereign of Yehudah, Hoshea son of Elah began to reign over Yisrael and Shomron for 9 years. And he did evil in the eyes of Yahuwah, but not as the sovereigns of Yisrael who were before him. Shalmaneser, sovereign of Ashur, came up against him. And Hoshea became his servant, and rendered him a present. Verse 4. But the sovereign of Ashur found a conspiracy in Hoshea, for he had sent messengers to So, sovereign of Mitzrayim, which is Egypt, and had not brought a present to the sovereign of Ashur as year by year. And the sovereign of Ashur shut him up and bound him in prison. And the sovereign of Ashur went through all the land, and went up to Shomron, and besieged it for 3 years. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the sovereign of Ashur captured Shomron, and exiled Yisrael to Ashur, and settled them in Halah and Habor, the river of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medites. Now this came to be because the children of Israel had sinned against Yahuwah their Elohim, who had brought them up out of the land of Mitzrayim from under the hand of Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, and revered other mighty ones. And they walked in the laws of the Gentiles, whom Yahuwah had dispossessed from before the children of Israel, and of the sovereigns of Israel that they had made. And the children of Israel secretly did matters against Yahuwah their Elohim that were not right. And they built for themselves high places in all their cities, from watchtower unto the walled city, and put up for themselves pillars and asherim on every high hill, and under every green tree, and burned incense there on all the high places, like the Gentiles, whom Yahuwah had removed from their presence. And they did evil matters to provoke Yahuwah, and served the idols of which Yahuwah had said to them, Do not do this. And Yahuwah warned Yisrael and Yehudah through all of his Nebaim, which are his prophets, and every seer, saying, Turn back from your evil ways, and guard my commands and my laws, according to all the Torah which I commanded your fathers, and which I sent to you by my servants the Nebaim. But they did not listen, and hardened their necks, like the necks of their fathers, who did not put their trust in Yahuwah their Elohim, and rejected his laws and his covenant that he had made with their fathers, and his witnesses which he had witnessed against them, and went after worthlessness, and became worthless, and after the Gentiles who were all around them, of whom Yahuwah had commanded them not to do like them. And they left all the commands of Yahuwah their Elohim, and made for themselves a molded image, 2 calves, and made an Asherah, and bowed themselves to all the host of the Shemaim, and served Baal, and caused their sons and daughters to pass through the fire, and practiced divination and sorcery, and sold themselves to do evil in the eyes of Yahuwah to provoke him. So Yahuwah was very enraged with Yisrael, and removed them from his presence. None was left but the tribe of Yehudah alone. Yehudah also did not guard the commands of Yahuwah their Elohim, but walked in the ways of Yisrael which they made. And Yahuwah rejected all the seed of Yisrael, and afflicted them, and gave them into the hand of plunderers, until he had cast them out from his presence. For he tore Yisrael from the house of David, and they made Jeroboam son of Nebat sovereign. And Jeroboam drove Yisrael from following Yahuwah, and made them commit a great sin. And the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam which he did. They did not turn away from them, until Yahuwah removed Yisrael from his presence, and he spoke by all his servants the Nebaim. So Yisrael was exiled from their land to Ashur, as it is to this day. And the sovereign of Ashur brought people from Babel, and from Cutha, and from Awa, and from Hamath, and Sepharwaim, and placed them in the cities of Shomron instead of the children of Israel. And they took possession of Shomron, and dwelt in its cities. And it came to be at the beginning of their dwelling there that they did not revere Yahuwah, and Yahuwah sent lions among them, which kept on slaying among them. And they spoke to the sovereign of Ashur, saying, The nations whom you have removed and placed in the cities of Shomron do not know the right ruling of the Elohim of the land. And he has sent lions among them, and see, they are slaying among them, because they do not know the right ruling of the Elohim of the land. And the sovereign of Ashur commanded, saying, Send one of the Kohanim, which again is priests, whom you exiled from there, to go there. Let him go and dwell there, and let him teach them the right ruling of the Elohim of the land. And one of the Kohanim, whom they had exiled from Shomron, came and dwelt in Bethel, and taught them how to revere Yahuwah. But every nation was making mighty ones of its own, and put them in the houses of the high places which the Shomronites had made, every nation in the cities where they dwelt. And the men of Babel made Succoth Benoth, and the men of Cuth made Nergal, and the men of Hamath made Ashima, and the Awites made Nibhaz and Tartak, and the Shepharwites burned their children in fire to Adramelech and Anamelech, the mighty ones of Sepharim. They also revered Yahuwah, and from every class they made for themselves priests of the high places, who offered for them in the house of the high places. They were revering Yahuwah, and they were serving their own mighty ones, according to the ruling of the nations from among whom they had been exiled. To this day they are doing according to the former rulings. They are not revering Yahuwah, nor do they follow their laws or their right rulings, or the Torah and command which Yahuwah had commanded the children of Jacob, whose name he made Yisrael, with whom Yahuwah had made a covenant and commanded them, saying, Do not revere other mighty ones, nor bow down to them, nor serve them, nor slaughter to them. But Yahuwah, who brought you up from the land of Mitzrayim with great power and with an outstretched arm, him you shall revere, and to him you shall bow yourselves, and to him you shall slaughter. And guard to do forever the laws and the right rulings and the Torah and the command which he wrote for you, and do not revere other mighty ones. And do not forget the covenant that I have made with you, and do not revere other mighty ones. And revere Yahuwah your Elohim, so that he delivers you from the land of all your enemies. From the hand of all your enemies. But they did not obey, and did according to their former ruling. So these nations were revering Yahuwah and served their carved images, both their children and their children's children. As their fathers did, they are doing to this day. Wow. And that concludes our reading for today. As always, thank you for joining. And I hope you're reading along, and I encourage you to read for yourself. And peace and blessings and love to you. See you in the next one.